Hi guys, Glorious Eggroll here. I've got another video for you guys today, and this one is not so much about gameplay or benchmarks, but rather game capture. So, as some of you who've been following me for a long time know, a couple years ago, I had demonstrated how VAPI, the open source AMD encoder, works on Linux, and it was eventually added to OBS, and it does work on newer cards. It works fairly well. You can get up to 1440p depending on the card. But for some of the older cards like Polaris, the 500 series, 400 series, those don't perform so well with the VAPI encoder. So some people prefer to use the AMF encoder. Now, up until recently, as of like a couple months ago, November, December area, um, people didn't really know how to use that, and there wasn't really a way that we knew to use it in OBS for recording. And then two things happened. One, a plugin developer for OBS by the name of Zaymar. He's the actually the one that made the original VCE encoder for Windows. AMD VCE was the previous recording encoding thing that AMD used. Well, he made a new plugin called Streamfx, and Streamfx allows you to use the AMF encoder in OBS to encode your stream. But you still need to install the AMD proprietary AMF driver libraries or whatever you want to call them. And obviously on Ubuntu, this is easy because they make packages for Debian/Ubuntu, CentOS RHEL too. But for those of us on like Fedora or Arch or some of the other distros, it's a little bit more difficult. Several people have already covered this on Arch. I'm going to show you how to do it on Fedora. I'm running my customized version of Fedora called Nobara, but the underlying it's basically the same. We only do like right now we have like a handful of maybe like 30 packages or so that we modify and or throw on top of Fedora. So this should also apply to a Fedora. So yeah, the first thing is let's go ahead and open up OBS now to see what we get if we were to just try and use OBS, right? So we got this, we go to our settings. Let's say we want to stream, right? Go to output, recording. If we want to stream, we get H.264 and VAPI. That's about it. For those of us with a decent, newer generation card, VAPI's fine, but older generations tend to choke on it. Pretty hard. X264 is CPU intensive, so these days when you have your 4-core 8-thread CPU and you got games using most of those, you don't really want to throw an encoder at it. On top of that, you'll get an FPS hit pretty hard. So you say, okay, well I've got this GPU, how can I encode on it, even if it's an older one? Well, that's what AMF is for. AMF is the literal AMD version of NVEnc. So NVIDIA's proprietary driver for their encoder is called NVEnc. AMD AMF is AMD's proprietary driver for encoding. VAPI, the one that I covered before, is the open source version of this. That's why this is in here, because we can't ship proprietary drivers, so we can't package OBS with it by default. So the first thing we need to do, let me show you one other thing. So we brought up VAPI, right? You say, okay, what if I'm just recording? With recording, you can usually go to custom output FFmpeg, right? And normally we would go down here, we select like H.264 VAPI. So let's just say we want to do our GPU encoding, right? And one of the other reasons to try and do this would be for DaVinci Resolve. I'll explain that in a moment. But you choose your audio format, hit OK. Watch what happens when I try to record. Yeah, I know I don't have a source. It crashes. Doesn't give you an option to choose what drive or what device, and even if you do put options in there, it'll still do the same thing. I've tested this a million times. So that's the problem with VAPI with custom FFmpeg. The bigger issue here is that if you're working in something like DaVinci Resolve and you want to encode on your GPU, but you want to use the output for DaVinci Resolve, you can't do that with this option. If we go to output recording, we go back to standard standard, and we choose FFmpeg VAPI, right? If we were to choose this and we were to record using VAPI, which does use our GPU, it would output the audio in AAC format. DaVinci Resolve is not compatible with AAC format. So that's why you would then instead want to go, to your custom FFmpeg, and then you'd want to choose your H.264, and then you want to set something like PCM raw. But again, the problem with that is H.264 VAPI, when done through the custom output, crashes OBS. So you can't use that. Your choices are either VAPI H.264 with AAC audio, or X264 CPU encoding with whatever audio format you want, right? So that's a pain in the ass. You can only do one or the other, you can't do both, and then you have to convert the AAC audio format before you can even import it into DaVinci Resolve. So this is where AMF comes in. This is the important part. Right, so let's get out of here, get out of OBS, clear, and let me bring up these little bundles of joy. So the first thing I've created is there's two scripts and a copper package. For those who don't know what copper is basically like PPAs for Ubuntu. They're separate individual user repositories that provide packages. And I'll show you how to use that when we get to it. First thing is, you go here, this AMD GPU Pro AMF Fedora. Basically, you just clone this, you read the instructions, right? So in the instructions, it says the first thing you need to do before even attempting to do this is we need the Vulkan drivers. The reason we need the Vulkan drivers is because the AMF encoder requires the AMD GPU Pro Vulkan driver as well. So let's do that first. Go over here. This is that Vulkan GitHub repository that I was just referring to. We've got that cloned, so we'll go over here. Here it is. I'm literally just going to type install. It's going to ask me for my password a few times, obviously, because we're installing packages and compiling a bunch of stuff. And the tools that it needs to compile, it will automatically ask you to install them if you don't have them installed, so you don't have to worry about it. Literally, you just run the install script and that's it. So we'll give this a few minutes, wait for it to finish. Sorry, I'm drinking something as I'm talking constantly and my mouth is dry and gross. I guess I could have just done this in the terminal. Oh well, I'll show you guys that next. All I did is just type /install.sh. It's in the instructions here. You clone this repository and you run that. And this is still going. So wait for that to finish. Now keep in mind this has to compile both the 32 and 64-bit packages for Vulkan, so you'll probably see it repeat itself, or what looks like repeating itself. It's using two different mock files, one for 32-bit, one for 64-bit. And of course, if you guys are wondering how I'm doing this with OBS off, it's because I have a second system with a capture card recording all of this. That's how I'm able to open and close OBS on this system without a problem. Okay, so if we look up here, we see both our 32 and 64-bit Vulkan packages were installed. So that's great, but the next thing is we also have to be able to launch the application using those drivers. Now, you could do the VK file names option, which I don't know about you, but I have to look up the full path almost every single time. Or you can do the easy mode, which is what I suggest next here. Install the AMD GPU Vulkan switcher from my copper repository. Just right here. It's right here. You just run those two commands, and then I've already done that on this system. So what happens is I can do something like this. VK Pro. Let's see. Mango HUD. Well, Mango HUD's not going to show. I know what I can do. I can open Steam. So let's open Steam. We got Bloodstain, right? So if I have DXVK HUD dev info, right? That's an environment variable. So we'll do VK Pro, and then we'll run our command, right? We'll do that. Hit play. Pray that it's not obnoxiously loud. Oh, I don't have any audio at all. Interesting. Oh, that's because I have the game muted. Whoops. That's loud. Whew, man, that was pretty loud. Sorry about that, guys. I knew it was going to be somewhat loud. Okay, so if you look in the top corner of our game, well, where the little text is in the top corner, it says AMD Radeon RX 6900 XT. That is what it looks like when it uses the Pro driver. It also has that when it uses the AMD VLK driver. So we know that our game right now is using the Pro driver. If we go to quit, and then we go to our options again, and we change this to VK RADV, watch it again. All right, and you see it changed. Notice that it now says AMD RADV Sienna Cichlid. I don't know what that word is. But anyway, you notice it changed. That means it's using the RADV Mesa driver. Mesa is the open source version. The one that says 6900 XT, that's our Pro version. So, we know that works. We know our switcher works. The last thing is we need our AMF encoder, right? Well, I will say second to last because there's one more thing to show you. So, now let's go back to the original here and read our instructions. Okay, install Vulkan drivers. We did that. And we already did this down here too. So the last thing we need to do is just install the AMF libraries, right? So let's go back to our folder here. We'll go back to, here's the AMF GitHub repository. I've already cloned it. Clear this. Sorry. Oh, I can't. Okay. I didn't know if I could zoom in here or not. I know I can do it on Terminator. So here, now let's do, again, install. We'll do its thing. Okay, so it's all done. That's installed now. And next, we have to do this. Now, when you want to use the AMF encoder, again, I need to be very clear on this and repeat it multiple times. You have to also use the AMD Pro Vulkan driver, right? So let's do VK Pro OBS. Okay. Now, if we go to our settings, output, recording, custom output, and we'll go change this to H.264 AMF. And let's say we have multiple audio tracks, right? So we want to keep track of those. We'll keep it PCM S24LE. You can change it to AAC if you want for your recording, but I usually do this so that I can use it for DaVinci Resolve if I need to. Gonna be honest, as of lately, I've been using Kdenlive because DaVinci Resolve's been really pissing me off, but it is what it is. At least this way you get your GPU hardware encoding without hammering your CPU, and you get your custom multiple audio tracks that are not in AAC. Right, so let's do that. Hit apply, hit OK, and start record. Yeah, ignore that. And there it goes. We're recording just fine, right? Cool. Yay, that's awesome. Now let's say you want to record a game, right? There's the big iffy. Want to record a game. Let's go back to Bloodstain, right? Properties. Here's the other big kicker with Bloodstain, well, with any game. You have to use the same Vulkan driver in the game as you are with OBS. Because if you don't, they will conflict and it will cause a GPU hang and you'll have to hard reboot your system. So we want to make sure that we are also using the Pro driver here. Okay. So VK Pro command for our game, VK Pro OBS. Make sure both of those are running the VK Pro driver. Hit play on this. All right, great. That's great. That's great. All right, F3. I'm going to move this to a different screen so that we can see our OBS. And now we're going to hit... Now, this is an extra plugin that I've added. You guys won't have this, but you can go down here and do a window capture or a screen capture through Pipewire. We'll do a window capture. Just title it game. Okay. And there's our bloodstain. There we go. Okay. And we can resize this. Transform. Fit to screen. And now we'll hit record. Look at that. We're recording. Again, let me show you this. Output, recording. AMF. We're using AMF. Notice our CPU is 0.7%. So yeah, that's how you can record using the AMF encoder on Fedora, right? So what if you want to stream, right? So okay, let's hit cancel here. Let's hit stop recording. What if you want to stream? Output. You still have just these two options for your streaming output, right? Well, that's a problem. What if you have, a decent GPU with an encoder of some sort, but you have a potato CPU? Well, let me show you how to do that. That is where Streamfx comes in. So let's exit out of here. And I'm going to keep the game open, but I'm just going to have it muted in the background so we don't have to reopen it. So the last thing is Streamfx. Let me bring the page back up. Streamfx is over here. And this is, like I said, this is Zamar's project, and he has been kind enough to release a Linux version of it for all of us to enjoy. Thank you very, very, very much, because this helps a lot of people. This supposedly has a lot of other extra cool things in it, but the only thing that I've really messed with is the AMF encoder, because that's the important part for me. So let's go to the releases. And let's go to the latest version. Down here, you want the Streamfx Ubuntu 2004 whatever.zip. You don't need the Clang one, you just need the normal one right here. So we're going to copy this, copy link, and minimize that. I'm going to bring up a terminal, clear. Okay, so on Fedora, we need to go to the plugins folder for OBS, and that is in config, sorry, OBS Studio, plugins, CD. We'll CD that folder, right? Next, we're gonna download that zip file that we just got for Streamfx. I went over here, right click, copy link, and then wget, and then I paste the link. Hit enter, and that should be there, right? So now we do unzip Streamfx. Oh, they bundle it in a plugins folder, so we're gonna have to do this. Let's move this up a directory. Okay, so this is the folder that you need to be in, not the plugin subfolder, because they made a separate one. Okay, so you go here, you just type in, again, we can copy this, and I'll show you exactly what to do, because some people still won't get it. That brings us to our folder. We do our wget, and then we would copy this URL, paste it here, this one here, paste it here, and like I said, I just downloaded it, so you guys saw that. Now, again, unzip Streamfx. Okay, now it's in the correct folder. If we go to our Streamfx subfolder, or our OBS plugin subfolder, we see Streamfx is there. Now, again, VK Pro, OBS. Cool, yay! And let's make sure Bloodstain is selected again. This is Streamfx's credits. Okay. Here's our game. I guess we can unmute it if we want. Well, doesn't matter. Now, if I go to settings and I want to stream it, look at that, AMD AMF H.264. I can select that. I can change all these different settings here right in the streaming panel. And I hit apply whenever I select whatever I select. Just to give you an idea, like these default settings are fine. These would be fine for like 1080p stream. You can look up different bitrate options for whatever you want. You got different presets here. Wow, it gives you the manual too. Lets you choose your H.264 options. This is fine. But yeah, you've got everything here that you need, and you would just hit OK, and you would hit start streaming, and that's it. So now you can use AMD's AMF encoder with both your stream and or recording. You can't use them both at the same time, obviously, but you can use one or the other. So there you go. That's all I got for you. I hope this helps people out. I have not tested this on Polaris. Hopefully it's better than the VAPI encoder, because I know, I'll be honest, I know the VAPI encoder on Polaris was pretty garbage. It works really well on Vega and higher, but on Polaris it was pretty bad. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. I just wanted to go through this stuff, get it cleared out. It's really easy. Like it's really, really easy. I hope my instructions were plain and simple enough. I'll put all of the links in the video description. And again, hope you enjoyed.